Hello one and all, this is my view of My Hero Academia, chapter 372, Naked. And this chapter, it confirms my theories and it outright rejects some of my theories. First off, let's talk about the rejections, because for a long time, I've been arguing that Spinner doesn't actually care about the heteromorphs and movement or anything like that, because he himself was never actually a victim of discrimination. He probably grew up in the city, his appearance isn't that, unusual, and according to the wiki, he's actually less reptilian than the rest of his family, so I figure, he had a fairly happy, okay childhood, or at the very least, no one bullied him for his appearance. Turns out that was not the case, as he says here in a rather elegant speech, considering how brain dead he is at the moment. For the crime of walking in public, they sprayed me with pesticide. Which, ouch, that hurts. Seriously, that is brutal. That is overwhelmingly brutal, and obviously nobody should ever experience that. But it still doesn't even come close to comparing to the absolute hell that Shoji had to go through. And that's where one of my theories was confirmed. Because in my last video, I was wondering, hey, when Shoji saved that little girl from drowning in the river, he didn't actually have any scars on his face, and yet the whole blood cleansing thing seemed to happen around the same time. So, is it possible? Aren't these people so overwhelmingly awful and terrible that they beat a young man within an inch of his life, permanently scarred his face because he had the gall to save a little girl who fell in the river? He had the gall to touch someone because he had to freaking save their life, and for that they almost murdered him. Holy mother of God above, those people are awful. Those people are over freaking whelmingly awful, and I hate all of them. Seriously, that's bad. That is so, so bad. Though, on the bright side, this does actually hint that maybe Horikoshi was planning this for quite a while, because apparently in an interview or data book sometime a while back, Horikoshi said the reason why Shoji started wearing a mask is because his face made a little girl cry. And back then everyone just assumed, oh, he's so ugly, so monstrous, that children screamed when they saw his full face, so he started wearing a mask. No! He wore a mask so that the little girl wouldn't feel guilty over, getting him scarred like that. Which, oh God above, Shoji, you are such a good man. You are such a freaking good man, and I love you. And I love this little girl. She is so precious, and I so, so want to see her again. I've been saying for a very long time on epilogue to the series, something takes place, 10, 15 years in the future, when Eri, Kota are, actually students at UA. And, maybe this little girl will join them as well. Maybe, I'm actually not really sure what the age difference is between her and Shoji, but I would so love to see her again. Maybe, she ends up joining UA. Maybe she becomes a full hero. Maybe she even ends up marrying Shoji. Which I would love simply because it would really tick off the racists. And that is always a win in my book. Anyway though, back to this chapter, Shoji and Kota explain, hey, we heard that Kurogiri is being kept at the central hospital, and we also heard there is an army of villains, or not even villains, just people coming to attack the hospital and free him. And Aizawa and All Might are just like, wait a minute, how exactly did you hear about that? It's supposed to be, a really big top secret thing. Yeah, it turns out if you want to gather an army of 15 freaking thousand people to attack a hospital, you can't really be all that subtle about it. And so, the big lady, as All Might referred to her, in fact, actually heard about it from, fellow heteromorphs. And, yeah, because she was able to tell Shoji it, they were able to defend the hospital. Huzzah! And this does actually raise a rather interesting point, because I've been saying for, this whole arc that felt really, really just poorly written, that we've gotten so far into the story without any real mention of discrimination against heteromorphs, and then all of a sudden 15,000 of them were ready to lay down their lives and kill, because they thought, burning down a hospital might somehow help their goal of attaining equality, somehow. Not great writing, but, that's actually a very good point. Something I forgot a while back when we first met the big lady, again as All Might referred to her, she said that the, rescue shelters weren't accepting any heteromorphs, and that's a line I kind of ignored when I first read it, but in the back of my mind I thought to myself, that's kind of weird, they're not accepting heteromorphs? What's up with that? I mean, she doesn't actually look like a villain, she looks like a fox-weasel hybrid thingy who's just, really freaking tall. So yeah, I guess maybe, there's a bit more foreshadowing into this whole thing than I first thought. Still not a great amount, but enough where I can't really complain all that much. Oh, and then we get to see Kota going absolutely plus ultra on Mr. Spiderhead here as his horns sprout, and he starts looking just so much cooler. Seriously, I love his new updated appearance. I absolutely love it. And I love his mama. We get to see his mama, and she is just, so precious, and Kota's so precious as his tiny little kid. It's adorable. It is so adorable. And his mom explains that back when she was younger, his father stepped in. His father defended her from bullies who were cruel and awful and treated her, like a monster because she had horns. But he loved her horns. He loved her amazing horns. Which, there's something weird there. I can't really wrap my head around it. He has like a thing for horns, I guess. I have so many questions when it comes to dating heteromorphs in the My Hero Academia universe. Anyway, though, they're able to beat Mr. Spiderhead, and Shoji manages to do quite a bit of damage to Spinner. Huzzah! Unfortunately, Spinner decides to go plus ultra in this moment. Actually has managed to say something, remarkably intelligent considering how much damage the quirks have done to his mind, and makes his way right to Central Hospital. Good for him! I mean, bad for literally everyone else, but good for him, He's really trying, and I appreciate that. And then something weird happens. I'm not really sure what this is supposed to mean, but we see, the police officer saying, we can't take much more of this. And then we see, them holding up a gun, and it says, bang, bang. So, did the police officer actually shoot somebody? Is there somebody, literally, laying dead in the ground right now outside? I mean, it feels like before this, they were trying to just, suppress the villains. Again, I call them villains. They're not really villains, they're protesters. But now it feels like they're going, okay, let's murder these protesters, which is, always bad. But then again, they're attempting to attack a hospital, so they aren't really good people, or at least they aren't making smart decisions in this moment. But again, just the bang bang, it's not really referenced again after this, so what exactly is this supposed to mean? I'm not really sure. I mean, I have this, little theory in my head right now that maybe Shoji, stepped in front of the gun, took the bullet himself, in order to show the heteromorphs they don't need to fight, they don't need to kill, and if there is a more peaceful way of resolving all of this, that would make some sense. But then we see, a whole bunch of the protesters following Spinner into the hospital, so yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. This gun and the bullets being fired just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I'm just very confused by that. But anyway, though, when the protesters see the doctors, both heteromorphs and not, who are standing arm in arm, not allowing, the protesters, the rampagers, Spinner to reach the inpatient ward, not allowing them to attack the actual patients. And this is, a really eye-opening moment for a lot of them as they realize, oh, we might be the bad guys here. Seriously, I mean, people, I know attacking hospitals seemed like a really good idea, but it might have been bad. It might have been, really bad. Who would have thunk it? Yeah, seriously. And I guess Shoji can take some credit for this because, back when the heroes first attacked the hospital to take down Shigaraki, the very first thing they did was make sure that all the patients were properly evacuated before they did anything else. They valued human life, heteromorph or not, above anything else. And now the protesters are realizing, oh, yeah, so maybe we're causing trouble for these doctors who look just so overwhelmingly tired and exhausted. It is such a great moment, and it just feels a little bit weird. This insanely powerful moment is brought on by a dude who is a parody of Yoshi and Toad. So, yeah, that's something, but just moving right past that, we then see Spinner running through the hallways, so excited, so utterly ecstatic that he finally has a chance to be a somebody after a lifetime of being a nobody. I've said this before, but Spinner's backstory isn't Shoji's backstory, and in fact is much closer to Deku's. He wanted the power to do something, to make a change, to, save the world, or just be someone that people notice, but he just couldn't. He never had that ability, and now he does. Now he finally has the power, and he has all these allies behind him, and he's alone. He is utterly and completely alone. Shoji managed to convince everyone to stop the rampage. Shoji managed to convince everyone that maybe attacking a hospital was not a good decision, and now, he's done it. He's finally reached Korigiri, and just the question remains, whose voice will reach him first, and I'm not honestly sure right now. I mean, I could see things going both ways. For one thing, Spinner isn't actually following All For One's orders because All For One said, play a recording of my voice or Shigaraki's, and then I'll wake Kurogiri up. And Spinner, is just using his own voice, which again, he's partially brain dead because of all the quirks, so it makes sense to get a little confused about the instructions. And then on the other side, we have Present Mike, who's shouting out Shirokuma, the name of his childhood friend, who became Kurogiri. And this might work, but at the same time, they have had Kurogiri in custody for a very long time. President Mike and Aizawa have shouted his name again and again, and hasn't really done all that much. Woke him up, stirred him a little bit the first time, but since then he's basically, been in a coma, so it'd be really weird if this exact moment the voice reached him. He's like, that's right, my name is Shirokuma, I want to be a hero, and all of a sudden he's on the hero side. Yay! Unlikely, though. But I think the bigger question is, from a storytelling perspective, what makes more sense in this moment? Do the heroes need Shirokuma to teleport them to different battlefields? I mean, maybe, but at the same time, the heroes aren't really losing all that badly. I mean, there's some very, very serious fights going on. They've faced some casualties. But at the same time, I still feel like there's a logical way in which they can all turn things around and win. Villains, on the other hand, though, if, Spinner's able to actually wake up Kurogiri and teleports him to Shigaraki, then things get very bad. Very, very bad. As, Spinner will be able to knock out Aizawa, break down the UA barrier, free Shigaraki, and then he'd have full access to all of his quirks, and that would be, just so overwhelmingly terrifying. But also that'd be, somewhat inevitable. I think we can all agree that at some point before this fight's over, they're going to find a way to escape the barrier, and Shigaraki is going to get full access to all of his quirks and be able to just go on a complete and absolute rampage. I mean, the final fight in the series needs to be a fully realized Deku with all the powers one for all, facing off against a fully realized Shigaraki with all the powers of All For One. Otherwise, that would just feel, I feel like it'd be ripped off. I feel like we'd be missing something so important to the story. But please let me know what you think down below. Are we going to see this little girl that Shoji saved again at some point in the future? Will she become a hero? Will she become Shoji's friend? I would so love to see that. What's the deal with the gunshot? Who exactly was shot here? I mean, there's an entire panel of the gun, and an entire panel of just the two bangs of the gun being fired, so yeah, it feels important. It feels like this should matter, and yet it apparently doesn't, so very, very confused about that. And who exactly is going to wake up in this moment? Is it going to be Kurogiri? Is it going to be Shirokuma? Will the next chapter basically be, inside of their mind as they're fighting for control, each trying to take over the body? I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. But anyway, though, until next time, peace!